So this that I'm about to talk about is very important. It's very important to me. So I'm going to talk about several scenarios that I've definitely seen in movies and stuff like this, right? And just these type of scenarios in general. When you have somebody, like take an example of somebody who gets all the support in the world, who has all kinds of, they surrounded by all kind of love around them, okay? And it's not like, it's almost like that's just they were born into this type of, this is what a lot of people don't understand too. People don't really understand that they are egos until they transcend the ego. And a lot of times your destiny is already mapped out for you. So I'm not into saying, well, you got to think about why these things happen to you. You need to think about that. Maybe it's something you're doing wrong. That's not always the case. Sometimes you could do something that caused something else to happen. But a lot of times your life is mapped out for you as an ego, and people don't realize their egos. Okay, people don't realize their egos until you transcend the type of ego person, okay, the person that you think you are. When you transcend that into like a higher type of being, then you have more control over your life. Let me say that. But I want to say this though. And this is, to me, a problem with people not seeing themselves as one, right? So like, let's just say this one person has all this support, has all this love around them. Anytime they ask for something, they got it. They just surrounded by support. And then you have somebody else that they try to do. They treat people. They do treat people the way they want to be treated, but they don't always get it back. And then they might have a family that hates them for whatever reason. That family just hates them. They really can't name a reason why they are hated. Or you can have somebody who lost their family. Like you can have somebody who just really don't have a family, who lost their family. Some people just have never been close with their family. And so you have a scenario of a person that just about has everything, and then you have another person that has nothing. And that person that has nothing, that has no family, and it's hard for them to, I guess, have good friends and loyal friends. They start to get more and more upset over their circumstances. Instead of doing something to change their circumstances, they get upset and think it's not fair how their circumstances ended up. And so I'm gonna tell you, I recently saw this on a movie called Fast X with Vin Diesel. I saw this movie called Fast X, and it was about this guy who was the antagonist to Vin Diesel in the movie. And he lost his father. He felt like it was Vin Diesel, that whole operation or whatever it was the reason why he lost his father. And he felt like this antagonist felt like he lost everything he loved. And so when he went after Vin Diesel, I feel like in the movie he wanted to break Vin Diesel's character, that is. He wanted to break Vin Diesel's character down and take out everybody that he loved. And it's almost like it would just break him down to where he couldn't even concentrate on who was after him. He couldn't concentrate on this man coming after him because this man would take everything that he loved, take his wife, take his child, take his friends, do everything to break him down to the point where he can't even focus on his opponent. Okay, Vin Diesel's character can't even focus on his opponent. And the guy who was the antagonist to Vin Diesel's character in that movie Fast X, he was like, this is what happens when you have friends. This is what's happened when you have family around you. You always have to worry about them. You always have to worry about them. It's like he took pleasure in breaking him down and taking everything that he loves away from him. Just taking this. It's like he wanted the character of Vin Diesel to feel what he was feeling. To feel what he was feeling. So that's the example I want to say. Now I'm not going to. I'm just using that as an example because the bottom line is, in that movie, that was a wicked family. But be that as it may, I don't want to judge the family. The antagonist just felt like everything that he loved was taken from him. So be it that it may, if they are a mob family, or they just what you consider a wicked family, whatever it is, that's not the way this antagonist, that's not the way this character saw it. The way this character saw it is that everything was taken away from him. But that's not really the point I'm making. I was just using that as an example. The point I'm making is that you have somebody that just don't have anything, don't have any love around them, don't have anything, and don't know what it's like to be surrounded by love like that, to be surrounded by people who genuinely love and support them. Because sometimes love is conditional, and what I mean by conditional, it's based on you doing what somebody else wants you to do. It's based on you being who somebody else wants you to be. Now, if you're treating somebody like crap, okay, that's different if they don't want to love you anymore because you keep treating them like crap and beating them or whatever. That's different. I'm talking about sometimes love is not really authentic. It's based on you being everything. It's based on you fitting into their box. So some people that think they have love is only based on them fitting into the box that all these people created for them. And once they get outside that box, they're going to realize they're just as lonely as the person who feel like they don't have any love. Because this is a society that wants to put you into a box. And if you're not in that box, you're going to be lonely. I mean, if you really care about society. And so what I'm saying is, do you really judge the person? Aside from this character in Fast X, that was just an example. Do you really judge a person who goes after somebody else who has everything? It's like the movie that with that character called Jigsaw. What's the movie with that character called Jigsaw? It's called Saw. The movie is called Saw. And that guy was trying to teach everybody a lesson because he felt like they had everything. But he felt like they were taking it for granted, though. He felt like they were taking it for granted. And so he wanted to teach them a lesson because he was dying of a terminal illness. And this guy felt like he never had a chance at life. And all these people get all these chances and they take it for granted. And he literally tormented them, teaching them a lesson. So that's another example of that, where somebody just feels like other people got the world and they were never given a chance. So are they wrong? Because I'm not defending that character for killing those people like that. I'm not defending that. But then you gotta look at the whole picture. Because this society is divided. This society is not communal. In a healthy matriarchal civilization, which can include men. Let me just say, when I say matriarchal, I'm not saying get rid of the men, because actually in matriarchy, in a lot of ways, men were real providers, okay? Men were really the builders. Men were builders still, okay? It was just more of a spiritual system. It was more of a spiritual system instead of what you see right now. And so really the women kind of stayed back, and they were more overseeing the whole thing. Like they were in charge, they were overseeing. While the men built and, real providers, real builders. So, but anyway, in a healthy matriarchal system, okay, people were communal in a real matriarchal system, and it wasn't all this status and who's better than who and who's above who, who's more popular than who. And you didn't have people. You're not going in a healthy matriarchal system. Nobody goes hungry. Nobody is homeless. Everybody's going to love each other. Nobody's going to watch another person suffer and just go and turn around and eat. Like for example, I'm just going to say, for example, I'm not saying I'm perfect with this either, but I'm just going to say this for example. When you hear a child has been trafficked, when you hear anybody has been kidnapped, when you hear a lot of people have been kidnapped for their organs, all this stuff, when you hear this stuff constantly happen every day, then you shouldn't, and I'm speaking to myself too, you should not be comfortable then turning around and carry on about your day like ain't nothing going on. I'm just saying, and I'm speaking to myself too. When you hear these type of atrocities happening, you should not then go carry about your day like ain't nothing going on because, and I get, now here's the thing, I do get that because it's an ego driven world and you do have to care, just go in and mind your own business because in an ego driven world you don't have no choice but to take care of yourself. But my point is that's a reversed and backwards world as well, and that's the way, that is the reason why things are the way they are, because there should never be a time that people go missing, that children are kidnapped, that children are just shot in the street, that there's a bunch of drive-by shootings, that people are just getting killed like crazy, all kinds of robberies, all kinds of stuff happening to people. And then the folks that it don't happen to just say, oh, well, you know, it's not happening to me, so let me just go on and enjoy my day. Okay? That's actually an imbalance. That should not happen. That should not happen. Okay? Like a common story, for instance, a common story that is in the so-called black community of, say, a girl that's got molested by her uncle or her brother or whoever. This is just a common story. It happens to boys too, but they don't speak up as much because they're boys. But in this case, like a girl has been molested, and she has explained this with her family, with her auntie, with her mother, and with whoever. And they just rather protect the person who molested the girl instead of protecting the girl. Okay, we see that a lot, especially with a lot of boomers and Generation X and then the generation before the boomers. We see that with those older generations of women where they just prefer to protect the man instead of protecting their daughters or their little sons too. They'd rather protect the molesters. You know, and so what happens is, this is a problem where people lack compassion and they lack empathy, is that they will still allow this molester to come to all the family functions, all the events, all the family reunions, whatever it is, and they will allow this family member to come to all the events and just treat this girl or this boy, but in a lot of cases it's the girl that's been molested, as if she hasn't been through anything, and actually treat her like she's supposed to be acting normal, like she's not supposed to feel no kind of way of just being molested. They really treating her like she just not supposed to care and carry on like this man ain't molest her or rape her. And that is a problem with society, is that people do not share. You really should share in each other's pain. Because what happens is, when other people share your pain, you able to share other people's pain, and other people share your pain, then the load is not so heavy on you. So when, like this example of a girl that has to swallow everything and see this uncle or this brother, whoever, who molested her at every family function, and everybody's friendly with this man like he ain't touched this girl, and she has to swallow everything up and be uncomfortable, and nobody cares about how she feels. That is the reason why the society is going to be the way it is, and it's a dead society. It's a dead society. It's not worth saving. It cannot be saved. I don't talk about nobody like trying to save humanity. It can't be saved, because you have to rise up as one. You have to see that you're not separate from the other. You have to see that you're not separate. Okay, so no, humanity is done because of the idea of separation, and they don't care about what somebody else going through as long as it ain't them. And so I just say that to say those are just examples of me saying, are these people really to judge the people who didn't have anything, who never had love, who never just had anything, and they were decent people. They tried to do right by other folks, but it seemed like they were just never given a chance. They were never given a chance. It's almost like it was just written. It was written for them, and it was written, okay? But they don't realize that, so they didn't know that they could change it. But it was literally in their, they were supposed to, it was like their destiny to go through what they went through, and they feel like they never got a chance, and they look at other people who take stuff for granted, and it's like they it's like he can't, or he, because I'm thinking about Saul, right? It's like he can't even get one chance, and these people get many. And I'm to the point where, maybe you gotta look into, should you really judge them? Now let me say, protect yourself from them. So I'm not saying to say that what they're doing is not wrong. My point is that when people are ignored like that, regardless if this is his destiny and it's up to him to change his story. See, that's that individualism again right there. See, and I'm saying that to say, the reason I brought up matriarchy and how everybody share each other pain, so that means when you got something going on, you're not suffering by yourself. These people suffer by themselves, and they go in to get angry because the load is too heavy that they have to keep carrying by themselves, because they don't have the love and support around them, so they have to carry all this load on their own, on top of what everybody else wants to throw at them. Okay, on top of what everybody else want to throw at them. And the people who threw this stuff at them, their negative energy at them too, those people got support. Well, they throwing their negative energy at somebody else. Okay? And so I'm saying that to say is that, are they really wrong? You're in a society where people don't support each other. You're in a society where people lack compassion. And so when somebody is suffering and feel like they never had love in their life, or feel like they never had a family, or feel like they just never had a chance, they're left to suffer and figure it out by themselves. They don't have a network of support, and they don't have family around them. And then you have somebody else who has a bunch of support that feels like they should tell the other person how they're supposed to deal with life. But to be honest with you, I can identify with a person that is not surrounded by the human type of love, because humans, I don't think, know how to love. So I think dogs do better at loving than humans do. But I'm saying that I'm a person like that too, but I chose to take a different route. I chose to take a different route than going and attacking somebody and making somebody else's life miserable because I didn't like things that might have happened with me. But that doesn't give me the right to still judge the other people who did not know how to handle just completely being forgotten. Literally, these are the people like that, they feel like they are the forgotten. That's really not a good feeling. But when you live your life as an ego, it's kind of hard not to get past feeling lonely and feeling forgotten. You got to learn how to transcend the ego. And then you're going to realize you don't want them folks thinking about you no way. But, yeah. It's almost like those people, are they really wrong? Because it's showing, what it is it's showing that really people should be sharing it. People should not be divided. Okay, definitely not divided by race, but it's showing that people really are one. There's a movie, it's a song by Maze called We Are One. We are one, that song. No matter what you do, we are one. That song. And it's talking about how we hurt each other and taking our time, treat each other so bad and all that stuff. Like, you don't know that you're one. The person, when you hurt somebody else, you're hurting yourself. You just don't feel it at the time, but you're hurting yourself when you hurt when you hurting yourself when you hurt somebody else. When you ignore somebody else, you ignore yourself, because you're one. You're one. Okay, and that is why this world is kind of, this type of reality is that most people are seeing is the way it is, because you don't know that you're one, and so you just don't want to watch somebody else suffer and then just live comfortably. Okay, especially when they working their butt off and do it. But even if it is they on drugs or whatever, I get that there's different circumstances, but a lot of times this stuff is going on because of the kind of society this has been, because of the kind of system this has been. It's so out of whack. So some people you just might have to walk away from, but at the same time, it's just like you just never know what it takes to be them. Even though you might have been in similar situations and you were able to make different decisions, you really might not know what it's like to be them. You know? And I just felt like talking about that. I'm trying to explain it the best way I can because I don't want to make it seem like I'm defending people who attack somebody else out of envy because they envy that these people have love around them. I don't want to make it seem like I'm defending that. The point I'm saying is that people are operating like they are so divided, like they really are. I get that people feel like they're individuals, but they really are one unit. They're really a consciousness. Okay, and to ignore one is to ignore yourself. But what people don't realize how that affects them because they're not feeling it yet. There's going to come a time where they are going to feel it. And might be unbearable for some people that didn't really know that they were connected, that they were actually not separate as like they thought they were. Okay? But that's it, because really at this time you don't have anything. The only thing you can do is work on yourself. But see, the thing is, here's the key to that. When you work on yourself, you're connected. Everybody's connected. So when you do work on yourself, you are helping others. You are helping bring up others because you're working on yourself. You really are, because everything is connected. Okay? But yeah, because like you can't always help somebody monetarily. You can't, everything that's going on in the world, you really can't do nothing about it. But the more you work on yourself, the more you are helping a lot of folks because you're connected. When you work on yourself with your consciousness and getting to self-love and all this stuff, then you're actually helping others around you without knowing that you're helping because you're connected. Anyway, that's all I got to say though. Is that it's really, this society is dead and it needs to die. I'm not going to defend it, and I'm not going to defend humanity. That consciousness needs to go, and that means a lot of people won't be around because people carry that kind of mindset of not caring what happens to somebody else because it's not them, and then judge them for being in their circumstances, not really understanding what it's like to be in their shoes and why they are the way they are. Okay? So, this is dying society, and humanity is gone, and people will go. Okay, what you see of people, because honestly, a lot of us are seeing false light. People are not really here anyway. A lot of us are seeing the false light, like everything is on autopilot. Okay, everything's on autopilot. So what we think is we seeing as people, they not really there. But anyway, that's the stuff I say on my other channel, Journey into Highest Potential. Yeah, that's all I'm saying. That this society is dead. It's gone, and it needs to go. And people are already gone. Humanity is already dead. It's not to say humanity needs to die. They're gone already. We're on autopilot. But the point is, it was going to go anyway, and there was no saving that kind of society because that's not how things should go. People should not just be so comfortable watching other folks suffer while they living this good life, while they got all this going for them, and they're just so comfortable watching other folks suffer and then judge them because it's like, well, you should be able to get out of this. You should, like, they don't care. When they know doggone well, 9 times out of 10, somebody was able to help them. Somebody was able to hold them up. For a lot of those people that like to judge, somebody was there to help them. And a lot of times these other folks, there's nobody there to help them. There's nobody to care about them. But it's like it's hard for people to put themselves in other folks' shoes, and they look at them like, well, you should just be able to do all this and that, not knowing what the hell they're going through. Okay, so yeah, that particular society that we know is already dead, and humanity is already dead. Okay, and good, because it's time to get back to a real healthy. It's time to get back to nature. Because when everybody gets back to nature, and when I mean nature, I don't mean the woods, I don't mean trees. I mean, that's great, because trees have a lot of wisdom, okay? But I'm saying that's not all I'm talking about. When I say nature, and somebody else said this, I like to give people credit. I don't know this lady's name. But nature is actually your true self. Your true self is nature. So nature is not necessarily being in a physical place, because to me, I already have been shown time and time again that I'm in a virtual reality. Okay, I'm in a larger consciousness system. I've been shown that time and time again. So nature is not necessarily about going to what you think is a physical location. It could also be just nature is really the true nature is your true self, your real soul, and not the false ego soul that has been created by the world and how you grew up and all that stuff, and your personality. That's the false soul. That's the ego. I'm talking about the real soul that's on a much higher vibration. Your true self, that is nature. That's actually getting back to nature, is getting back to your true self. Okay? And with that being said, that's it, and I'll talk later.